Preston Guy with us every single Friday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline talking some LSU football. Preston, how we doing?
Hunt, how's it going, man?
Going quite well. Let's talk a little pigskin here. I told you earlier today I wanted to talk about LSU's defensive ends. I thought LSU got good defensive end play this past year from Savion Jones and Braden Swinson. Those two guys move on. Kevin Peoples still here, and they kind of had to retool when Deshaun Womack decided to hit the portal and go to Ole Miss. So as you looked at LSU's defensive end play this past season, what did you see?
I thought it was good for LSU this year. I thought certainly there were times it could have improved, but I think it was greatly improved from what it was a year ago. I think a lot of guys didn't expect it to be as good as they were. In fact, at times that defensive line was a strength of the team, and that's just purely coaching because it's basically the same guys who were on that historically awful defense from the year before, and basically just improved coaching, improved their play. So that's a good sign for LSU's future because both those D-line coaches will be back next year. And frankly, I think they're retooled with a lot more talent this upcoming year than they were in 2024.
All right, let's talk about what they've got coming in. We'll talk about Gabriel Relaford as well and Dylan Carpenter as those guys are still here. But they go to the portal. They get Jamari Butler from Nebraska, Patrick Payton from Florida State, as well as Jack Pyburn from Florida. What do you see there?
Well, first off, I think Patrick Payton is your instant plug-and-play starter. I think he was one of the best players in the portal, regardless of position this year. He's going to be a guy who's going to be an instant impact player. You love to see that from Patrick Payton. That other DN spot's going to be interesting. You look at the film for Jack Pyburn, maybe his numbers don't pop out too much, around 50 tackles or so, a forced fumble here and there. But he plays that Jack linebacker role in that defense at Florida, which LSU doesn't have that spot. So he's kind of a tweener. Does LSU see him at linebacker or edge rusher? I think most people are pointing to him as an edge rusher. And I think between him and Gabriel Relaford, it'll be interesting to see which one of them grabs the starter spot. What I love about Jack Pyburn on film is he's aggressive. He takes on blocks. He's a physical player. And he's the kind of guy who's making plays without being the one recording the stat, which I think that's something that those unsung heroes, that's what LSU's really been missing in its defense for quite a while. So love what I got out of them. Of course, the kid out of Nebraska, Jamari Butler, he comes in having, played serviceable reps in Nebraska, about 24 tackles this last year. And I think he'll be the same kind of experience depth piece that you're looking for as you're trying to get a team that's poised to compete on bigger levels. You need more than just your starters. You need quality depth to compete.
Pyburn is interesting because I was listening to Matt Moscona's show back in December when he committed to LSU, and Matt had a guest from the Florida beat on. He said, this guy is just a crazy person, and I think every defense kind of needs that. And then you turn on the film, and you're like, yeah, that checks out. The guy looks like he's got a bit of a screw loose.
Yeah, no, he's exactly right. That little weeks in him. You know what I mean? Like just that. I don't know if I want to run into this guy on the wrong side of town one day. He might be a little crazy.
I look at
I love that.
I look at the game against Ole Miss when LSU got to Jackson Dart 6 times, and a lot of it was Swinson. But that game in the fourth quarter, the defense kind of took over for LSU and waited for the offense to make its plays. And I just feel like if you're going to be a great team and you're going to beat good teams, you're going to have to get back there and get to the quarterback. You mentioned that you feel good about Peyton doing it. Is there anybody else that you think could be a 7, 8, 9 sack guy?
Relaford showed you some flashes last year. Make no mistake, he's just a young player. And I would be excited to see what he develops into. I think it'd be a little early to expect Damian Shaklin as a true freshman, although he'll be here for spring camp, and that always helps. But Relaford and Pyburn, I could absolutely see them being guys who develop that. Pyburn's a guy who hasn't had his hand in the dirt playing true edge rusher, yet. So I would be interested to see how that works out. I do think he'd be a good run stopper and bring a physical presence. Pretty certain about that. I'd have to see how his pass rush is with his hands in the dirt. So Relaford is probably the guy I would look to for that, but we'll definitely see. One of those two would be my candidate.
And then the natural progression is to go back just one level to Harold Perkins when he creeps up there and does what he does. We'll have this conversation now, and then we'll do it again in spring football, and then we'll do it in the summer for media days, and then we'll do it all fall camp. But, like, where does Harold Perkins fit in this discussion that we're having? Does he?
I don't know. He might be the first look at your star next year. We'll see, because, I mean, he always grades out very high in coverage, and at star positions, he's kind of a tweener. He's a light linebacker, and it hadn't quite worked out for him yet at any position other than when he was a freshman, and they just said, go out there and rush the quarterback. You know, it was very one-dimensional, and I think everybody can agree he's too talented to be a one-dimensional player like that. So that star position provides some. Certainly there's some interesting blitz packages you can dial up with it, but it's not a consistent, certainly not up the gut, being in the box, providing a presence.
This is something I get all the time. I'll see what your answer is, but people tell me, I don't care how the Indianapolis Colts or Baltimore Ravens feel about Harold Perkins. I'm trying to win games for LSU. He's awesome rushing the passer. Tell him to go rush the passer. What would you say to that?
I don't know that he's big enough to consistently do that at an edge rushing position. Now, if you want to just have him come in at third down as an outside linebacker and blitz on the edge, because that's what you did his freshman year, and you think that's all he's good for, you think that's all the talent he has, then go for it. I just don't think he's actually that great as a defensive end, as an edge rusher specifically. And then there's other roles that these positions do, like outside run contain. How does he handle 300-pound offensive tackles driving him backwards? Is he able to squat down and fight? We're talking about a guy who's about 215. So I don't think he has the measurables to truly play that position. I think if you really want to get great effort out of Harold Perkins, you got to find a position he can play every down on. You can't just use him as a situational player and think, yeah, we got the most out of him.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.